Hi my lovelies, welcome back to my channel, and for everybody who's new, I'm Leorah and I'm so glad you found me. So welcome to today's video, which is going to be basically all around or all about my green palettes, or let's say greenish palettes, because certain palettes I just definitely need to show you, even though there's also some other added color scheme in it, but still I wanted to show you because I get the green feel from it, if you know what I mean. But there are also a couple of palettes that are just purely green monochromatic palettes, which I also really love, and there are also some that I don't love so much. So we are going to talk, of course, about all of that. And in general, I could have pulled in way more palettes because I have a big amount of palettes that have all kinds of colors in them, and within those colors there are beautiful greens, but I want it to be like the greenish palettes, okay, that are overwhelmingly green, or at least you get the green feel from it, whatever that may mean. Okay, sweetie, if you've just found me, I'm Leorah. I'm a makeup artist and stylist. I'm living for colorful makeup. Green is my favorite color of all times, just saying. And of course also colorful styling, so please feel free to check out my social media, which is linked in the description box down below, so you can see what I'm doing. And of course also check out my channel and subscribe, because that would be awesome to be together here on this journey and grow together and spend this time together. So sweeties, let us go into the whole palette now. And again, I could have pulled in more, but I think even so, even without pulling in more, I think it is quite a bit, so I hope you did bring some time. Okay, let us start with two palettes that I absolutely love, and that is two palettes from BH Cosmetics. Now this one here, the Absinthe palette, I just received recently from a new friend of mine who sent this to me, and I think this is a super gorgeous palette. Really nice execution of a 9-pan monochromatic palette with nice depth in it. And as you maybe also know, if you're not new here, that I actually do love those smaller palettes, the quality and the formula in those smaller palettes from BH Cosmetics very much. Now this one I have not gotten around to trying yet, but I for sure will soon do it. It was just like a lot right now, so but this is definitely on my to-do list for like super soon. Okay, sweeties, then there's also the Pistachio palette. This was part of the Sweet Shop collection, and this is how she looks. And of course also this one with beautiful depth, even though it has really only 8 shades, including 4 shimmers and 4 mattes. So beautifully done, really, and the performance is spectacular if you ask me, you know. So of course all of that, when I say performance was this or that, that is just me, okay? Maybe you have completely different experiences, and that is of course all very legitimate. Okay, sweeties, this is the Pistachio palette. Then let us also talk about this palette here from Foolish Hustle. This is the Green Bandana palette, and I've done one look with this one here already. This is how she looks, and of course Foolish Hustle has a couple of palettes. I think there's also a blue bandana and a yellow bandana, maybe also a red one, not 100% sure, and I also don't know in all of these cases what is still available and what not, okay? So if you're interested, you'll have to check for yourself. But in any case, this is the Green Bandana palette. I ordered this the second I saw it, because green, sweeties, it's like I have to. It's a siren's call for me, you know. It's like I have to go and buy it because my soul needs it, you know. So in any case, I did one look with this. Formula was kind of mid-range. I definitely have formulas here in my collection that are better. It was also not like bad or anything, but it was not like top-notch, maybe. And the glitters I did not enjoy so much, I have to say, unfortunately, because the binder is really tight in it, and for me it does not perform so well. But maybe it's your preference, so you have to know, of course, what works for you. But for me, these really tough binders are not so workable, definitely not. And it's also hard to apply them, if you ask me. So of course the one positive thing about that is that you have less glitter fallout, you know, but just to get it on, it's just honestly too much work for me, you know. So in this particular case, I ended up not using them at all because it was just not kind of my thing. Okay, then let's also talk about Bare Beauty. That is a brand based in Australia, and I received this through the kindness of Christine, who used to be a super big supporter of my channel, who unfortunately has passed away by now. So she gifted me this palette because she was from Australia, and you know, kind of put the Australian brands a little bit more on my map, which is really nice. And of course you can see here that this is a really pretty kind of greenish palette, but also of course leaning into into the teals, and of course you do have a black and a yellow, and then 2 neutral shades. I reviewed this palette here on my channel. In case you're interested, you will find it under my review videos in the playlist. So of course you can also, I do believe that I did swatches. I'm pretty sure that I did. So you will of course then see different looks and also the swatches of this palette. As far as I remember, because this is already some time ago, and sometimes, you know, I'm reviewing a lot of stuff and working with a lot of stuff, so sometimes it is a bit hard for me to remember, but I remember that I was pleased with the palette, because if it would have been negative, I would definitely remember it, you know, because there's not so much where I have negative memories, you know, and those ones stick out. So this is Bare Beauty. That was the first palette. I do believe there is another more colorful palette that is less monochromatic, even though this is not 100% monochromatic either. Okay, now let us also talk about the Poison palette. This is from Forrest Zing. And this is of course spectacular looking. Seriously, this was the first palette that put this brand on my personal map, you know. So I received this through the kindness of one of my besties, and of course you can see that there is a whole row of mattes, a whole row of shimmers, and then a row of pressed glitters, and this is how she looks. And I think this is also a super pretty palette. Formula wise was also okay, also the pressed glitters were okay, and of course they have just launched a new collection. I think it's called In the Mix. So in case this is too green for you, there is just I think it is more like, for my personal feeling, it is like a winter themed palette with like frosty tones of blues and also some, I think, some pink and fuchsia and kind of a thing. So feel free to check that one out too. But this is the one that I do have, and this was really cute, really nice, because greens is just like magic. Okay, now let us also talk about Lucky Bunny Cosmetics. This is also a brand that used to be from Australia. Unfortunately, they have just recently closed shop because they just didn't make it. Unfortunately, they had come out with all kinds of palettes. I want to say maybe 5 palettes in a very short amount of time. And this one was the Envy palette. There was also Great, there was Wrath, there was, I don't remember, all kinds. I think I have all of them. So this is what she looks like. And of course this is not a very green palette, but I don't know also how much it shows up on camera, but these 2 shades, this whole row, and also this one, all of these shades are green. And then of course you do have these 2 silvers, then a very dark Bordeaux shade, and of course these 2. Okay, so mostly green, I would say, and I really enjoyed this. This was the first palette they came out with, and I think it was a huge success for a first launch of a very tiny fledgling brand. I thought this was super well done. I also reviewed this here on my channel in case you're interested, but as I said, this is not available anymore. All right, then let's also talk about Meera Beauty. Sweeties, Meera Beauty, at some point during 2021, they came out with the House of Everest bundle. That was 2 palettes and a glitter quad, okay? So one of those 2 palettes was the Great palette, okay? So, and this is how she looks. So nice, because it is not only, yes, it's warm greens, and that is usually what I'm looking for always, but there is also this army, like the kind of camouflage colors, which is also so nice, and you can create such nice looks combining those also, you know, not just staying within those colors, but also combining them. And then of course you do have those 2 bluish shades here. Super nice. I'm a huge fan of that brand. Also what they are, the thought processes that they always put into their collections. They're a very deep brand, you know, and I really like this. So nice. Okay, so this is the Great palette from the House of Everest bundle. This should be still available. I also do have a code with Meera Beauty in case you want to shop something. And as of right now, when I'm filming this, the newest palette, I think it's called Melancholy or Melancholia, I'm not 100% sure right now, is still on the way to me, so that you're definitely going to see super soon here on my channel as well. I just haven't received it yet as of right now when I'm filming this. Okay, so this is the Creed palette. Okay, now let us talk about DedeSignature. I received, among other things, I received also this little quad here from DedeSignature in PR, and this is such a cutie, like really. I mean, you know, probably if you're not new here, that I'm not the super biggest fan of quads because it is just really small, and as a rule of thumb, they just do not hold my attention for very long. But I have to say, of course, this is the avocado quad. I don't know if I if I mentioned it. Okay, I have to say that the execution of this one is so, so pretty. It has such nice depth, and I know because I have tried the formula of DedeSignature already a couple of times in different palettes that it is really, really nice, a good formula, and this is just so well curated for just 4 shades. It is really incredible. Plus, of course, she also incorporated the theme. It is not just creating a green quad with, you know, a nice depth and all of that. It is also incorporating a theme, and sweeties, that is hard. It is not easy to do that when you only have 4 shades available and maybe think, oh, I could do this and that, but then when you're doing that, you're lacking the depth, or you're lacking the light colors, or you're lacking this and that, you know. It is really, really hard. So I think she did super, super well here. I also do have a code with Dede in case you're interested. They are all down in the description box. Okay, another quad that I received through the kindness of Christine, the one I mentioned before already, and I'm also going to mention her again super soon. she bought this for me. This is the beachside, yeah, the beachside quad from CXC Cosmetics. Also this one, while this is leaning a little bit more blue, I just wanted to throw it in because for some reason it does give me the cold green vibes. You know, it is not, of course, completely green. I get it, but I kind of wanted to throw it in because it's really, really cute. And I also really, really like CXC Cosmetics as a brand, and I think the performance is also really, really nice. So this is how it looks, while, yeah, it really looks a little bit more into the teals, doesn't it? But in any case, this is what it is. So take it or leave it. But in general, I think they're a very, very good brand. Okay, now let us also talk maybe about, let's see, maybe about Juvia's Place. Wait, there was another palette. Okay, 2 things from Juvia's Place, okay? So let us first talk about the super obvious one, and that is the Army palette from the Rebel quads. There were 4 quads, and I bought the silver one with the grays, and of course this one, the Army one. And here you have, of course, a super, super dark leaning quad. And also this one, I have to say, is super, super nice if you are not scared of dark colors, and or if you are, you know, combining them, because there was, for example, also a mint one, which I personally don't have, and combining this one and the mint one could also be super, super nice. I personally combined the grays and this one in each look that I did with those quads, and everything turned out super, super nice. Like grays and greens, sweeties, like seriously, you know. And also, of course, the formula of Juvia's Place is just consistently good for me personally. I really, really like that formula. Okay, then also an older palette from Juvia's Place is, of course, the Tribe palette. Now, also this one is, of course, not 100% green, but it does give me the green vibes, of course. And I would even include this one as a green, even though it is kind of also going into the camouflage brownish tones, but still. And also this one has a bit of a greenish, I don't know, do I want to say it has a greenish shift? A little bit, like a hint of it, but it can also go into the orange. You know, it is kind of really incredible, this palette. There's so much in this palette, and the looks that you do with this palette are so, so beautiful. I do not know if this is still available. I'm not 100% sure, but this came out, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe? Or was it 2 years? I almost want to say 3 years ago. So, so pretty, seriously. Okay, and let's also talk about SheGlam, because I do also own 2 palettes from SheGlam that are kind of green. Okay, so first of all, there is the Hello Yellow palette. So of course it says Hello Yellow in the title, but it kind of also gives me the green vibes. It's a different green. It's not, of course, the stereotypical green apple greens, but it kind of, it gives me more the green vibes than the yellow vibes, I have to say, you know? So I think this is a very, very cool palette. And sweeties, while I'm showing you the next one, I also have to say something to the SheGlam formula. Is it the most pigmented and the most spectacular that I've ever worked with? Absolutely not. This is the Cool Cactus palette. And this one also has super nice depth, by the way, obviously, as you can see. But if that is all you can afford and you still want to have colorful makeup, you can absolutely make it work, you know? And that is really, really nice, because there are other brands where I would say, okay, great, you give me an affordable palette, but if the formula doesn't work for me, then it doesn't help me that it's affordable, you know? But in this case, I would say they're absolutely workable. Will you get the most, I don't know, super pigmented results ever? I doubt it, but maybe you also don't have to. You know what I mean? Now I have to say I have never tried yet those dark shades from SheGlam, so maybe that will make a difference, but I cannot tell you as of right now because I've never done like really dark looks with the SheGlam formula. But in general, I have nothing against SheGlam. You know, it's good. It's good stuff for what it is and for what it costs. Okay, then let's also talk about the Beauty Crop. This is the Mojito palette. This is from the cocktail bundle, and I have the whole cocktail bundle. That were, I think this cocktail bundle was one of the first palettes that I ordered for my channel. Did I ever feature them? No. Because I honestly don't think it is that good, at least back then, and we're talking probably like 4 years ago or so. I didn't like the formula. Did not. You know, so this one I haven't even used yet. I did use other palettes from the cocktail bundle, but this one I haven't used yet, which is kind of strange because really, according to what my soul is leading me to, I would use this one first, but sometimes I force myself to not do the green one because it is just so predictable that I always go to the green first. But in any case, this I did not enjoy, you know. But please take into consideration that a long time has passed and maybe stuff has changed, you know, formulas change and I don't know what. So, and also of course my personal abilities have changed in that time. I just never felt drawn to go back to this. So yeah, I also do have a code with the Beauty Crop in case you want to use it. I personally have not bought from them ever since. I should probably go back and check what I think about it now. But from what I remember, I did not like the one look that I did with the other palette, and that's why I did not go back to this palette. It's a shame. Yeah. What I really like though is this palette. This is from Ace Beauté. This is the Oceanic palette. And of course here you also do have blues in the palette, but also beautiful greens. And I have to say that this palette for me was magical. I absolutely love it. And as you probably also know, that I never had a problem with the Ace Beauté formula, the old one, the new one, I don't care. Like really enjoying Ace Beauté. That is a brand that is absolutely top notch for me. It's one of the best brands for me, you know, together with Juvia's Place. And then of course a lot of other smaller indie brands that I've just found, but from the bigger, more well-known brands, this is definitely also for a long time already, you know, like ever since I started my journey here. And once I had my first, I think was, wait, what was it? The Paradise bundle? Was that the first palettes from Ace Beauté I had? I don't remember anymore, but I have a lot from Ace Beauté, and this is so good, like also color scheme wise, and also of course the performance. Okay, where am I? Let's talk about Style Cosmetics, because I also have a lot of palettes from Style Cosmetics. I want to say probably like 6 or something like that. And this is the Going Green palette. This palette launched, I want to say maybe February 2021. I saw it and I bought it immediately, no questions asked. So this is how she looks. Did I film with this one? I don't think I did with this one, but I filmed with a couple of other palettes from Style Cosmetics. And of course, this brand, when you buy a palette from that brand, you get a very big amount of pressed glitters and also shimmers. They are usually like 2 or 3, maximum 4 mattes in the palette in this kinds of palette. You know, of course, they also have a few bigger ones with like 15 shades. But yeah, so this is what it is. In case you do like that, then that might be definitely something for you. The only critique that I have of this palette is that for me personally, there was not enough depth in the mattes, because I would have liked to maybe skip this one here. This is a shimmer. I would have liked this to be like a dark green matte. That would have made the palette a little bit more dramatic for me, which I just need that, you know, like whatever. But this is what it is. And they have also just launched a blue monochromatic palette, which also looks super beautiful, which is, I think it's called Gone Skiing. It's definitely like a winter vacation palette and stuff, so please check that one out. And of course also they launched a palette during Halloween, which is called, I think, Trick or Treat, which also looked really nice. Okay, now let us talk about Menagerie Cosmetics, because in today's look I have for the first time, sweeties, tried Menagerie Cosmetics. This is the Whale Song palette. I did not buy this myself. I also did not receive it in PR from Menagerie, because Menagerie does not know that I exist, and they also don't really know about people outside of the US. you know. So this is a palette that I received from Christine also. She bought it for herself, and then she did not, I don't remember honestly if she didn't like it or if it ended up being too dark for her, or I don't know what. So she asked me at some point, do you want to have it secondhand? And I'm like, sweetie, yes please, because I kind of knew that this would be probably the only way that I would ever have anything from Menagerie Cosmetics. So I tried it today. This has been lying in my pile of shame for like, I don't know, almost a year, I have to say. Sweetie, sorry. Yeah, so this is basically my first look that I have created with this palette. I'm not going to film with this, but I was like super intrigued, and because I'm kind of in between things, I'm waiting for palettes that I definitely need to work and film with, and I'm using this time to just like sift through my pile of shame and just go through stuff and use stuff that I've always wanted to try. So this is Menagerie Cosmetics, and of course also this palette is of course also including blues, but it also does have really nice greens. So yeah, that was my first impression of Menagerie Cosmetics. Then I should also tell you about this one. This is the Cobra palette from Klarity. And sweeties, before I talk about this palette, I have to say that a couple days ago when I'm filming this, I actually got accepted as an affiliate to Klarity Cosmetics, and I was like, oh, no way, because so many people applied, and I don't even know, but they accepted me. I got an email from them, or no, they wrote to me on Instagram and said that you made it in, and I'm like, no, they really? Are you sure? So I'm just so thrilled, which means that I also do have a code with them, and you will find it in the description box. Okay, so this is the Cobra palette. I received this through the kindness of one of my besties, and sweeties, yes, I know that there is basically just two greens, and even that is debatable because it's these two. It's like these camouflage greens, you know, and I really like it, and you know, I just get the vibe from this palette, so that's why I wanted to throw it in. Mostly it is of course teals and blues, but I still wanted to include it because it is an exceptionally good formula. This is, you know, this is one of those brands that is just on the level of me liking it, like Ace Beauté and like Juvia's Place and like a couple of other brands that I just absolutely always gush about, you know? So this is the first palette though that I have tried from Klarity. I have another one which is the Private Party palette, which I have not tried because it's discontinued, so I did not feel the rush to work with it. But sweeties, Klarity, yeah. But again, also with this palette, don't be scared of dark. Don't be scared of the dark, sweeties, okay? But it's such a good workable formula, seriously. Okay, now let us also talk about two brands that actually have been discontinued, and that is, for example, Certify. Sweeties, do you remember Certify? Certify, the Affinity 2 palette. This is how she looks. Of course, also here you do have a lot of blues in the palette as well, but of course here in the lower part you do have a lot of greens as well. I do have almost all of the Certified palettes. That was a UK based brand, which was really nice. I never was a big fan of the shimmer formula, but the mattes I always thought were very solid, and also the latest palettes, and this was one of them. I think they also improved the shimmer formula, definitely. In the beginning I thought they were really dry and kind of thin, but these later ones I thought they were really nice, and I'm so sorry that so many brands didn't make it, you know. And I don't even know if this had to do with the pandemic or if it really was already beforehand that it just didn't work out anymore. So that was the one sister. The other sister was a Blush Tribe, which is of course also a UK based brand, or it used to be, before the rebranding to Miali Beauty, which is also gone. Okay, but this is Blush Tribe times. Do you remember? Okay, so we have the Layla 2 palette, which is kind of a green palette. Also in this case, I just missed the depth in the palette, you know. I definitely wanted to have depth in the palette. I tried it. I think this was not so good anymore. In the beginning, the Hasina 2 and you know, all of these palettes just worked better for me. I felt like towards the end there was something missing in this brand, and maybe that is part of the reason why they closed up shop. But in any case, this was the Layla 2 from Blush Tribe. Okay, sweeties, let us also talk about Makeup Revolution, because I do have two palettes from Makeup Revolution that I want to show you. Now, I personally do not own a lot of Makeup Revolution things. I do actually enjoy their highlighters, some of their highlighters and some of their blushes, but I'm not planning on buying more eyeshadow palettes from Makeup Revolution. Okay, so let's start with this one. This is the Tasty Avocado palette. I ordered this on launch. When it launched, I think it's like almost 2.5 years ago. So I really enjoyed this one back then. If I were to be able to try it now again, I would probably feel like, you know, back then I made it work, and I was also not as spoiled as I am right now, you know, because of course in those 2.5 years I expanded my horizon like crazy, you know. I worked with so many different formulas and so many different brands, and I just feel like this is not so much my thing anymore, you know. Back then I was super excited to like try whatever, but now I feel like I can fine-tune myself a little bit more, and I'm personally not going to like make an effort and go out of my way to buy stuff from Makeup Revolution. I have nothing against it, you know, whatever, but I'm just not so much into it anymore, especially after this palette. Sweeties, wait. This way. This is the XNB palette from XX Revolution. I bought this on launch as well. And while this is of course not an all green palette, again, of course you do have other shades in here too, sweeties. This palette is most likely the biggest disappointment in my whole career. In my whole collection, I think this palette was horrible. Sorry to say, but I really did not enjoy this palette. I did one eye off camera, I took it off, and I used a different palette, and I will at some point give this away to play for my kids, you know, for my 7-year-old. I'm sure she can rock it, but I just can't, you know. If a formula is that patchy and that I just don't have time for that anymore, you know. Sorry, that sounds probably like I'm completely full of myself, but I also have to watch out for me and look what my time is doing and what how I value myself, and I just feel like, no, sorry. Okay, sweeties, if you like it, you go ahead and rock it and have my blessing, okay? All right, then Glamshop Poland. Glamshop Poland is a brand that I truly really like, and I do have, I think, 5 or 6 palettes from Glamshop Poland as of right now. And really 2021 was a Glamshop Poland year for me, because I bought all of those palettes in this year, okay? So I have 2 palettes that I want to show you right now that are green vibing, and they are also not your stereotypical green palettes. Okay, so let me show you this one, the Vezialone palette. I never know how to pronounce stuff, so sorry. Okay, so this is that palette, and I think it's super pretty. What a nice color scheme with nice depth and with nice lighter options. The beautiful way it is created, and it's just an absolutely beautiful palette. Now, I also personally really like the formula. I think it is exceptional. It's beautiful. You have to know though that there is going to be quite a bit of kick up in the pan, and there's probably also going to be some fallout depending on how wild you get when you work with makeup. But for me, there's always a lot of stuff happening in the palette, just saying, because I get really wild. Okay, so then you also do have the Glamremora palette, which was the camouflage palette. That is obvious, of course, when you look at the packaging. And this one I have to be a little bit careful because one shade broke now. Sorry, I'm dabbing it back into the pan a little bit. So I'm going to be really careful. And this is a very messy palette because I had a lot of time with this palette. Sweeties. Okay, so this is how she looks. Here I would have liked a little bit more depth, honestly, because that is just how I vibe, but not everybody is like me, you know. Let's not forget that. Okay, I'm just being really careful with this palette because I don't want it to crumble out of the pans. Okay, now the last brand that I want to feature today is Becca Muse. Sweeties, Becca Muse got put on my radar also through Christine, because of course I spoke about Becca Muse quite a bit in my new makeup releases videos, but then Christine contacted me and said, I ordered the Benjamin palette for you, and that is this one. Okay, of course, also very blue, but also really nice green shades. And this is when I, for the first time, tried this brand. Sweeties, this brand is seriously pigmented. It is seriously beautiful. Really nice. And there are so many options on the website. Have not been on the website now for, I want to say like 10 months or so, or maybe a little bit less. But what I remember, there is so much there. There are smaller palettes also, in case you like smaller palettes more. There's an abundance of stuff, you know? And I really like the formula. I did review this one here on my channel with several looks, with swatches and everything. I remember when I swatched this palette, it's a game changer. so beautiful, you know. So Becca Muse is definitely also a brand where I already know that I love it. So as a result of that, when Becca Muse launched this one, this is the Knisha Peridot palette. When she launched this one, I ordered this one immediately. Also, of course, here you do have a lot of blues, obviously lighter blues, darker blues, but here in the middle you do have some beautiful greens. And yeah, this is basically the bigger sibling of the Benjamin palette, you know, and there was just no doubt in my mind I needed to have this because I also really like blues, you know, definitely. And yeah, so that is basically that. So don't sleep on this brand. In case this is something that is easily to get for you or whatever, then definitely don't sleep on this brand because it is an amazing brand and absolutely Leorah approved. Okay, sweeties, did you get enough? Did you get your fill? All right, so that is basically what I wanted to do today, to just show you my green vibing palettes. And again, I could have probably pulled in a couple of more palettes, but I think I'm going to leave it at that for right now. And I hope, of course, that you did enjoy. I'm going to try to link everything in the description box. And for my makeup, please then probably go to a pinned comment because I might not have place to also put my makeup into the description box. As always, of course, don't forget to check out my social media and follow me there. And also my discount codes that are all listed in the description box down below. It is very clearly marked what is affiliated and what is not, so you can make your choice. And of course there are also ways to support my channel, which you also find in the description box. And beyond that, of course, leave me your comments in the comment section about the different brands. Maybe you do have different experiences with the brands that you want to share, but let's remember to always be kind because that is how we are dealing with things here. And beyond that, that is what it is for today. So don't forget to subscribe before you leave, and I shall see you here super soon for my next video. And up until then, definitely go ahead and sparkle. Hugs and kisses. Bye.